for staying with us through the station break. Just to remind us, folks, you're here with us at 7:30 p.m. on Thursday evening with DWDD. We're talking about the prophet Daniel right before the station break. Now remember, Daniel was also given the ability to interpret dreams by Allah and was granted the specific special office, along with his friends Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, who were given the Babylonian names of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, after interpreting a dream for the evil king Nebuchadnezzar. After a time, the evil king had built a huge golden statue of himself and made everyone worship it several times a day. But the friends of Daniel refused, and they were thrown into a fiery furnace. After a long time, the king looked inside the furnace and saw not only Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, but a fourth man who shone bright and brilliant, and this was the angel whom Allah had sent to defend his faithful. On an occasion, after Nebuchadnezzar was gone, the new king was entertaining guests, and a hand appeared to write unknown letters on a wall while they all watched. Daniel was called in to interpret it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to him the meaning of the unknown language. Daniel alayhi salam told the arrogant king that because he had not been humble and worshipped Allah, that his kingdom would be taken from him immediately. That very night he was killed, and a new king took over. It was during the reign of this new king, King Darius, that Daniel alayhi salam was put into a den of lions for violating a new law. Even though King Darius did not want to do this, he was pressured by the law of the land. So when he placed Daniel in with the lions, he said, "May your God, whom you serve faithfully, rescue you." So when Allah had spared Daniel, and Darius saw what had happened, he sent a decree out to all nations under his rule that read, and this is directly from the Bible, by the way, in the book of Daniel, chapter 6, verses 25 to 27. "Peace and prosperity to you all. I decree that everyone throughout my kingdom should tremble with fear before the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, and he will endure forever. His kingdom will never be destroyed, and his rule will never end. He rescues and saves people. He performs miraculous signs and wonders in the heavens and on earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions." Gives you goosebumps, doesn't it? Daniel was given many further visions and signs which were interpreted for him by Gabriel at the command of Allah. The prophet Ezra was also alive during the time of the cruel king Nebuchadnezzar, and it may actually be that he was around during the time of Daniel. We're not 100% sure. But Allah had a plan to save him from the deaths of the other prophets that have suffered. And he actually caused Ezra to go out into the countryside and fall asleep under a tree. Ezra slept for 100 years. After 100 years, he sent an angel to wake him up and brought his donkey back to life so that he could ride home. The Torah had been destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar at this time, and Allah sent Ezra to find copies that had been buried and preserve those under persecution. This is the one whom Allah talks about in Surah 2, verse 259, as he says, "Or take another example, the one who passed by a town which had fallen down upon its roofs. He exclaimed, 'How can Allah bring this dead township back to life?' Thereupon Allah caused him to die, and after 100 years brought him back to life. Allah asked, 'How long did you remain here?' He replied, 'Perhaps a day or part of a day.' Allah said, 'No, you have remained here for 100 years. Now have a look at your food and drink. They are not rotten, they are preserved. And take a look at your donkey and see that his bones have decayed. We have done this as a sign to make you a sign to mankind.'" Look at the bones of your donkey, how we bring them together and clothe them with flesh and bring him back to life. When all this was shown clearly to him, he said, now I know that Allah has power over everything. When Ezra alayhi salam returned to his home, there was no one alive except a few maids who had grown into old age. They challenged him, saying, we know that when Ezra asked anything of Allah, that he would grant it. So pray to heal us. Ezra prayed the blind woman to see, and she saw. And he grasped the hand of a crippled woman so that she could stand straight, and she stood straight. They testified at once that he was indeed Ezra, and took him to meet his grandchildren. He then sat under a tree with all the people, and copied the Torah with perfection, so that the words could be preserved again. The building, or township, which Ezra was referring to in Surah chapter 2, was actually Jerusalem and the temple. It was allowed to fall into ruin, and Allah had charged Ezra with bringing it back up. But not yet. So he had to sleep until it was time, and all of Israel could believe again. There are other reported prophets in the Bible, but they are not authenticated messengers by major scholars that I have read. So again, if I'm mistaken, please let me know. Now for the last 5 shows, we have looked at all the messengers of Allah, from Adam alayhi salam until Jesus alayhi salam, and all points in between. Each and every one of them has taught the oneness of God and has taught the universal perfection of Al-Islam, the chosen religion of Allah to all of mankind. Over and over again, people have arrogantly turned away from Allah and have chosen to worship themselves or idols instead of the Creator, who cannot be formed and is above physical description. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has always been the seal of the line of prophets. Many messengers of Allah have given respect to him over the ages through their teachings. Adam alayhi salam asked for assistance from Allah in the name of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam because he saw the name inscribed upon the throne when he took his first breath. This was the beginning of Muhammad's prophethood. From the first breath of mankind, the Prophet Muhammad was a messenger of God. In the Bible and in many other books, Muhammad has been prophesied. In the book of Genesis, Allah promises to bring a great nation from the line of Ishmael. This is the foretelling of Muhammad and the Muslims. Another very important point is in Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verse 18. It foretells the coming of a messenger, and it reads, I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their brothers. I will put my words in his mouth, and he will tell them everything I command him. In this passage, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to Moses alayhi salam, and the words here are translated accurately from Hebrew.